Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Support Minutes. I'm your host, Andre Lindy. And today I thought it'd be nice to do this topic while we're outside, get a little fresh air. I kind of got this idea from Andrew Rios when I see him doing his walk around. So thank you, Andrew, for that idea. So last week we talked about what do you do when you have low performers on your team? How do you handle those people? This week I want to talk about a topic that is a little bit similar, but also very different is how do you handle your top performers? And not how do you handle them, but how do you keep them engaged and how do you keep them motivated? Because I think we've all been there. We see our top performers. They're the peoples that have maybe the highest CSAT score. They are closing a ton of tickets ahead of everyone else. But do we usually take them for granted? Or do we really appreciate the work they're doing? And then how do we reward that hard work? How do we keep these people motivated? So I think the first thing we need to do is we need to understand these people. We need to talk to them during our one-on-ones and we need to really find out what are they growing towards? What's pushing them? What's trying to make them better? I'm pretty sure most of these people don't want to continue just to be the ticket leader or the person with the highest CSAT score. What are these people doing well at? Well, I think the first thing we need to do, like I said, is we need to know what their career aspirations. What do they want to do? What excites them? Let's say, for example, these people really like handing their knowledge down to others. They really like being the go-to person on the team. So how can we leverage that? Well, what we could do then is that when we get new hires that come in, let's assign that person as a new hire buddy. So then they can be the person that teaches this person. We can see how well they transfer knowledge. How will they handle, answering questions from their coworkers? And what this can be a good insight into is then, okay, if this person is really good at mentoring and they're really good at transferring knowledge, where might that transfer next? Could they be someone that goes to the education team? Could they be more fit for a leadership role? Just from these small changes, these small observations, we can really start to get a better idea of what they might be good at. So let's say they did this leadership and they really liked it. Well, what's next? Then we can try to get them involved in some maybe cross-departmental projects. We can try to get more eyes on them. We can see how they work with other leaders, how they communicate with them, how they share ideas, how are they taking the information and then delegating to others maybe. A good example of this is maybe environmental engineering meetings, CS meetings. Well, let's say that management's not really their thing. That's not what's driving them. Maybe they want to go down more the IC route. Okay. Well, find out what really drives them on that. Do they want to do something that's maybe more on mobile side, if they're in MarTech? Are they more engineering in engineering? Like what are they interested in? Once you find that out, go connect with your connections on the engineering side, on these other teams and say, hey, I have a person here that's expressing interest. How can I help them grow? What can we do? And if they say, okay, here's a meeting they can join. Like if there's a weekly stand up for engineering, then go to that so they can kind of see how the workflow works. Next, let's talk about where they are technically. You can say, okay, what do you know? And then you can give that information to those leaders. Like, here's where they're at right now. Where do they need to grow? What are some good courses or what are some good ways to grow this experience? So what you're doing is you're not only being a champion for them, but then you're also trying to give them resources to help them grow. And then when these positions do open up, they've done all this work ahead of time. They've done the hard work. So then you can say, hey, here's a person on my team. They've done X, Y, and Z. They'd be a great fit. They've already talked to other people in the department. They're a known face. So this is how you're really advocating for your top performers. Because the main point is that we don't want our top performers to stagnate. We don't want them to feel like they're being neglected or that they're only there to crush tickets. So just be that champion, find out what they want to do and really be the person that's driving for them. Now I'm curious, what have you done for your top performers? How have you moved them? And as I always say, sport is not just a job. It's a mindset. Talk to you all later.